Kennedy took AOC's rhetoric and turned it into a stand-up bit and nailed it.
I give it to Senator Kennedy. What do you think of the new leadership, Jasmine, AOC, and Bernie?
I consider Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez to be the leader of the Democratic Party. She's entitled to her opinion. I'm entitled to mine. As I've said about her before, I think she's the reason there are directions on a shampoo bottle.
In a fiery political moment that sent shockwaves through Capitol Hill, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana unleashed a blistering critique against Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her progressive allies, collectively known as the Squad. With his trademark Southern bluntness, Kennedy opened with the line, "When you argue with a fool, you just prove there are two," making it crystal clear he was referencing AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and Ayanna Pressley. The moment was not spontaneous. It was a prepared, deliberate rebuke aimed at the ideological positions these lawmakers have advanced, which Kennedy views as fundamentally un-American. He didn't just throw shade, he called them fools without hesitation, stating that their public statements and policies are damaging not just to discourse, but to the very fabric of the nation. It wasn't merely a moment of political theater. It was a calculated rhetorical strike meant to draw a clear line between his version of patriotic Americanism and the progressive activism embodied by these women. Kennedy's criticism focused intensely on what he described as the Squad's disdain for America's origins and current identity. In his view, these lawmakers portray the United States as an inherently wicked, racist country, one that has not only failed in the past, but continues to oppress in the present. Rather than recognizing the nation's progress or appreciating the freedoms afforded to them, he claimed they perpetuate a narrative of victimhood and resentment. Kennedy emphasized that this kind of rhetoric isn't just hyperbole, it's dangerous. He insisted that the right to criticize is foundational to democracy, but warned that constantly labeling the country as evil does more to erode national unity than inspire reform. For Kennedy, their attitude crosses a red line, and his remarks positioned him as a guardian of what he sees as traditional American values under assault. The senator didn't stop at verbal condemnation. He accused the Squad of actively harming their own political party. "They are destroying the Democratic Party," he stated flatly, before launching into a scathing analysis of how their positions, from border policy to economic reform, alienate moderates and empower conservative opposition. Kennedy went as far as to imply that if he didn't know better, he'd suspect they were GOP plants, deliberately undermining Democratic credibility. He argued that while Republicans benefit from their extreme rhetoric by contrast, the long-term damage is being done to bipartisan governance. His claim was not merely partisan criticism, it was a strategic warning that elevating fringe voices might win headlines, but it risks alienating the broader electorate. Much of Kennedy's critique zeroed in on AOC's past comparison of migrant detention centers to concentration camps. The senator dismissed the comparison as offensive and misleading, saying it detracted from real issues in favor of sensationalist language. He pointed to the tragic deaths of migrants at the border as a legitimate concern, but criticized the Squad for, in his view, politicizing the situation rather than proposing viable solutions. According to Kennedy, their word choices, especially in emotionally charged debates, are intentionally provocative and do more to inflame than inform. He positioned this as an example of why their influence needs to be checked, warning that public trust erodes when leaders exploit crises for rhetorical gain rather than constructive policymaking. Kennedy's speech also functioned as a full-throated defense of the statement made by former President Donald Trump, "If you're not happy living in America, leave." Far from distancing himself from the controversy, Kennedy embraced it, saying the sentiment encapsulates a core American principle, freedom. According to the senator, critics of America have every right to voice dissent, but that doesn't mean they should denigrate the nation relentlessly while reaping the benefits of its liberties. He framed this as a common-sense stance, not a nationalist one. For Kennedy, if public servants believe the country is irredeemably evil, they should consider whether they truly want to serve it or seek change from within, through gratitude and dialogue, not disdain. The heart of Kennedy's argument lies in a larger cultural and philosophical divide that, according to him, now defines American politics. "This isn't just about policy disagreements," he said. "It's about what kind of country we want to be." He criticized the Squad's vision of America as one where socialism, illegal immigration, and high taxation are praised, while capitalism, religious freedom, and patriotism are condemned. This moral inversion in Kennedy's eyes is not representative of most Americans. He warned that such ideological shifts are not just signs of a healthy debate, but symptoms of a nation that's increasingly unable to agree on basic truths, a nation that's losing its identity in a sea of polarized worldviews. The video's narrator framed Kennedy's remarks as more than a political political call-out. They were positioned as part of a broader ideological battle over the soul of the country. With passion and precision, Kennedy is presented as issuing a warning. The rise of progressive activism may be popular in some circles, but it poses a serious threat to the cohesion and values that underpin the American experiment. This isn't about resisting change, the senator's defenders argue. It's about preserving the core freedoms and institutions that allowed for progress in the first place. To many who watched the video, Kennedy's words offered clarity in a time of moral ambiguity, staking a firm position in the intensifying cultural war. Predictably, the reaction to Kennedy's comments was polarized. Conservative media outlets hailed him as a truth-teller, someone unafraid to say what others wouldn't. His supporters saw him as defending American pride against an increasingly cynical progressive agenda. On the other hand, critics accused him of stooping to ad hominem attacks and avoiding meaningful engagement with the issues at hand. Progressive voices decried his tone, labeling it disrespectful and dismissive of legitimate concerns about systemic inequality and human rights. Regardless of interpretation, the moment was undeniably impactful, a crystallization of America's political divisions, captured in a single confrontation between ideological opposites. What makes this clash so significant is not just the personalities involved, but the broader implications for how political debate is conducted. In an era where every statement becomes a viral flashpoint, Kennedy's bluntness was a deliberate tactic. He wasn't just speaking to the squad, he was signaling to millions of Americans who feel disillusioned by what they see as an overcorrection in the national discourse. This wasn't about one speech, it was about taking a stand, drawing a line, and daring others to cross it. The tone, the message, and the unapologetic delivery were all calculated to resonate with those who believe the political left has lost touch with patriotism and practicality. In closing, the video's narrator placed the responsibility squarely on viewers to assess the state of the nation. "Do you think AOC's views are truly that extreme?" they asked, "or is Kennedy exaggerating to rally his base?" This is the crux of the culture war, a battle not just over laws, but over language, identity, and national purpose. As the video urges, moments like this are not just political drama, they are defining markers of where we're headed as a country. Kennedy's remarks may have sparked outrage or applause depending on one's leanings, but one thing is clear: America is at a crossroads, and voices like his are ensuring that the choices ahead are impossible to ignore.